Okay, what I've got here is just to show uh, basically how to get power from your solar panels to something you want to use. Um, these are very small, so they wouldn't work well for powering much. Your solar panel needs to go to a solar panel charger. Uh, at that point, you also have a battery hooked up to it. At that point, you have an area to pull power from the solar charger, which is going to be pulled from the battery. You really can't pull directly from the solar panel with large amounts of power. You can damage the actual panel. The other thing that can be done is you can convert. Right now this would be just a 12 volt panel going into charge a 12 volt battery and coming out to power a 12 volt device. This is a very small inverter, but it could run a laptop, TV, a small TV. You could do such. The more that you wish to run it, the larger that your panel should be, the larger that your battery should be. As well, with a solar setup, the battery really needs to be what they call a deep cycle battery. These are used, in RVs, mainly because they can be drained and recharged many times without harming the battery. A regular automotive battery, if you deplete the charge on it, it will become sulfated and you actually will damage the battery, making it smaller and smaller in capacity every time that you drain the battery. So deep cycle battery can be drained to nothing, which it shouldn't be, but drained down and recharged without any severe damage to it. You can buy the inverters are in many places, anywhere from Walmart, probably any auto parts store. You can see this one has an auto plug-in. So if you needed to charge, say, your laptop or anything like that, you could do so with, a simple 110 plug-in. They do make a little noise because they do have a fan for cooling, so the electronics don't get overheated. But I've used them many times camping and on trips, just to power up things, like I said, the laptop, or if you didn't bring the car charger and you've got the home charger, you can figure a setup very easily to work it. But you can get many different solar chargers off the internet. Lots of them are going to come from China. You kind of get what you pay for. The smaller that you get, the less power that it will actually be able to run. So, this I'm not going to be able to really power a great deal with, but if you're just trying to run some lights, not a problem. So maybe this would be great for a camping setup where at nighttime you want to power a string of lights for a little while everybody's, still having fun. Be no problem. But if you're trying to power your house, refrigerator, that may not be enough power.
But
so,
this is just, it's the same setup though.
Same principal idea. It's just this, you would have, I'm going to say, one that is built to handle more amperage.
Can you just show us the how you would hook everything up from the start to the finish?
Okay, this, very simple here. We show a solar panel here. I would take wires from here, a negative and positive, wire it into these two terminals, which shows me negative, positive. My battery, same thing. I would wire in negative and positive correctly here, just like shown. At that point, what we would have is would have a solar system that would be charging this battery. Now, that would at least keep our battery charged. If we wanted to, we would be able to pull power from this here. If we had a 12 volt light bulb, we could wire it in directly to here. And at that point, we would be able to light what we wish. If it was a string of lights, you know, as long as, like I say, this here being 12 volt, if we needed to change it to run, you know, a string of Christmas lights, that's where the inverter would come in. We would end up wiring the inverter to the load. We would just get regular wire instead of the plug-in, and we would wire it into this section on the load, and then we would also have 110 power out of this. Now with this system here, we wouldn't have a long time of use, but we could get a little bit out of it. So, but like I say, you can go to places like Harbor Freight, eBay, Amazon, all these companies, they're going to carry, like I say, solar chargers. You can hunt around for solar panels. You do have to be careful on what you buy because those come in different voltages. You can get a 12 volt panel, a 24 volt panel, a 48 volt, and it goes up and up. So depending on what your panel is what you'll have to buy for your solar charger. You just want to make sure that your system is somewhat matched and you know what you're going to be running so that you don't, I want to say, try and pull too much power from, I want to say, your solar charger.
What is this solar charge regulator?
This right here?
Yeah.
Basically, it's the same as this. You know, these all have LEDs. This is going to show battery charging. This will actually show that when illuminated, that the solar panel is charging. This, being the load, would show that you are using power when illuminated. Pretty much the same thing here. You know, this is probably, all these connections here are probably for a solar panel and such from Harbor Freight. It's not very difficult to hook up, and especially on this one showing you exactly what goes where, very simple. But biggest thing I would say is camping might be good for somebody who wants lighting in the tent, maybe a string of lights outside, so, you know, wintertime getting dark early, you don't want the fun stop, you want to be able to see things. You know, if you're going to spend a week in a place, it wouldn't be a problem to set up and be able to run for several hours after sun goes down. Like I say, it's fairly simple to hook up. You just have to make sure what you're trying to run isn't going to be pulling more power than this. This is probably, maybe 8 or 10 amp, I'm thinking. It's not marked. I'd have to get the instructions to make sure. But you don't want to try and use something that uses 15 amps, and it may most likely damage this just from its initial turning on. So you just want to make sure everything you've got is not too much. Now your system can be bigger and more powerful than what you want to use. It wouldn't be any problem, and you would have no troubles with it ever draining your battery. It's the point of having something too much, drawing too much power and draining your battery quicker than what you want. Inverters, using the inverter, you will, when it is plugged in or wired in, and I want to say even when not in use, it will draw a small amount of power just because there is a cooling fan being used. So even in its standby, I want to say mode, it's still going to be pulling power. So, like I say, you can make the system the size you wish. If you wanted to charge your RV batteries and not have to use the generator to actually keep everything up while you sit and enjoy the time, then you would go for several panels on the roof, a fairly good sized and sturdy solar charger, so that you know, you're using power during the day, during the night, and it gets replenished during the day, each day. Can save on any gasoline or diesel costs that your generator on the RV would run. Good for the environment. So at that point, you know, in an actual solar panel, I would actually try and get ones that are not from Harbor Freight. They take up a lot of room. They're not made to last a very long time, and they don't put out a great deal of amperage.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thanks.
no problem.